letter recently came into my possession from Willie Fritz to Tom Lane, zoning enforcement officer. I gave copies to Mary to pass out whenever she deems it appropriate. And it concerning property at Bluff Avenue, apparently there was a variance filed. And dear Mr. Lane, very short, please be advised that the town of Clinton consents to the proposed variance application from Bluff Properties LLC, Vincent Neri, for use of the properties known as Bluff Avenue and Butternut Road as shown on the plans. Contact me if you need any additional information. And I couldn't help but wonder how it is that the First Selectman is intervening in a zoning, in a ZBA case where somebody's asking for a variance. Apparently there was a complaint filed by somebody, probably a neighbor, and so this person now is going for a variance, and I don't see how, and we've got two attorneys sitting here, I'll put you on the spot, I don't see how the First Selectman can see it in his purview to intervene in a zoning case like this. And he's advising that the town of Clinton consents. Now, is the First Selectman the town of Clinton? Or did you all vote on this and authorize him to send such a letter? I just think it's improper. Now, he's sending a letter to his subordinate. Tom Lane works for, other than the state of Connecticut and the zoning board, he really works for the First Selectman. I mean, he's his supervisor. So what do you think Tom Lane's going to do? He gets a letter from his boss saying, I think this is okay. What's Tom Lane going to say? I don't know what he said, but he's probably going to say it's okay. I just think it's another example of improper behavior and intervening in a case that I don't think the Board of Selectmen has any business intervening in. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay. Kirk, you want to continue on that trail?
Sure, why not? Thanks for the invitation. In the packet, you will find a number of things, including a picture of what's at the end of Bluff. You'll also find a Google Earth shot from above. You'll also find a copy of the zoning map, which shows this is clearly in an R10 zone. You'll also see that the property, you'll see the zoning regulation that says that this is not a permitted use. In fact, the Planning and Zoning Commission couldn't even approve this as a special exception. It's not a permitted use. This is also a town road that for some reason, somehow, has been given permission to be used by a private party. And I don't know how that happens, that you give a private party the ability to take over a road and then to use it in a way that's not permitted. And then to advocate in favor of it to the Zoning Board of Appeals seems to be quite outrageous. I see this as kind of part of a pattern. 186 East Main Street, 30 Highland, Old Nod, it's taking properties and using them in ways that they're not meant to be used, and I think that's an abuse of power. And the thing is, the First Selectman will say to you, so what are you going to do about it? So that's what I'm going to say to you today. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? I think it's a very important question. This should not be permitted. I think you should vote today to go to Zoning Board of Appeals. You should put this on your agenda, and you should send a note to Zoning Board of Appeals that there is no consent from the town of Clinton that this be permitted. Thank you very much.
Okay. John?
Could I address what, like, Kurt and Phil
Yeah.
were saying? And I don't know, when I first, was on the Board of Selectmen, so it was almost, 2 years ago, whatever, one of our first things was this property down on Bluff. And an executive session, I don't even know if I could talk about it. Exactly, but I think we as the Board of Selectmen, and these two were on it, but the three of us were on it. I think one of the, we were negotiating with Old Colony or whatever, and one of the negotiations was that piece of property and what's being done down there. This isn't like just came, that he just came to this already.
It's a lawsuit. Kind of a lawsuit.
And this is one of, and I don't know if So I think this might be one of the things we agreed on for him for less money. You know, we'll instead of the town paying you X, we'll let you do this. Now, I don't know if it's right or whatever, but that was one of the negotiations. And not that I'm for or against it or whatever, but I think this should probably be rezoned, because I think in our zoning, we're trying to make the industrial along the railroad tracks and stuff. I know right now it's an R10, but I think we should look, if you look at it, it's always been used as commercial down there. You have a woodworking shop down there, you have, before that was the precast concrete company was there, you got the Nylon insulation. So it's not like it's always been residential at the end of that road. And in fact, I don't think it's ever been residential at that very end we're talking about. Now, I'm not saying, that the right path is, or we even have the power to do that, but I think that where Mr. Neri and Mrs. Neri are coming from is that this is part of that negotiation, and he was going to redo that road down there, redo the drainage, and maintain that area. I don't know, looking at through zoning might not be the best thing for the town. I think it really would be, because who else, instead of us cleaning it up and getting something on the tax, now they would be taxing them for it. Right now, I don't know what the tax implications are, but I don't think it's a terrible thing. It might not be, and I'm not totally up on the regs, but it might not be the way to go about it. But I think we have an obligation, at least the Board of Selectmen, and I'd have to look at what our negotiations were.
Yeah, we said that we would not oppose this, that we would supply the material and survey for the drainage work, and he would do all the improvements and blah, 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 blah. And that was as part of the settlement in that lawsuit.
Doesn't something like that, I mean, you're basically giving away land as part of a settlement. Doesn't this have to go to?
No, not for a legal settlement. It doesn't have to go to town meeting, doesn't have to go anything. It's a legal settlement.
Did they do the improvements?
Well, that's still the bone of contention, and Pete and I have been, I got to hammer him about it. We provided him the survey. So
I don't know what he expected.
I don't know what he expected, if he wanted the design or what he wanted, or we'd given him the
So
survey.
the bottom line, Willie, is this, and I'm hearing this is not out of context, but this was something that happened not because an application came to the town and you just said we
No.
consent. Okay.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Because
This comes from like
This
2
is
years
sort of-
ago.
There's a lot
Oh, yeah.
surrounding this. This isn't just, this isn't Tom saying, can you give us an opinion
No.
on this case?
But just like you're withholding payment on the fire truck, I wouldn't give them a variance till they did the work.
No,
And that's not that's the ZBA's job. They approve everything.
No, I agree. I said I don't, not that we're supposed to go back and forth here, but I don't, that's what I said. I don't know exactly what the zoning stuff would be, and I don't know if it's right, but I do remember us as the Board of Selectmen negotiating with the attorneys and stuff. And I thought part of that negotiation had to do with, I know it had to do with what was going to go on the bottom,
Yeah, and the neighbors down there have come in to say that, when's he gonna do the work? So we've given him the survey, and apparently he's told one of the neighbors
And I'm not saying
he's
you should
waiting for a
get the
design.
variance.
So I
I'm
gotta
saying-
figure out, I didn't think we obligated ourselves to a design. So,
And the reason this letter came out now is because the variance is being
correct,
considered
correct.
now.
And I talked to John about it, and he said, no, you should sign it, just to make, keep with the agreement. So, it doesn't matter what I sign as far as that. ZBA, Tom Lane doesn't approve it, ZBA has to vote to approve it.
They rely on his opinion, which is influenced by outside forces, that's all.
I don't think ZBA as much as zoning does.
Yeah.
Doesn't there have to be a vote of the Board of Selectmen?
It was 2 years ago as part of the lawsuit settlement.
Is there a public record?
No, is
of
it
that vote?
done in executive session?
Executive session.
So you have to come out and vote on this settlement. We had to come out and vote on
I was
it.
wondering, do we have to?
It's all we have. Yeah.
So there's a public record
Sure.
of that vote?
Sure.
Okay.
And this is just one of several stipulated agreements within that lawsuit. So.
And I believe it was unanimous. That's about it.
Okay.
All right, I just have one little question about this. Now, I remember the discussion about giving him, about this. at the time when this came up, and the discussion, and I recall, this is a big lot here. I thought in our discussion that he was getting the right to use an area at the end of Bluff Avenue,
Correct.
but he's got all this.
Well, he owns that.
He's purchasing this through,
Right. He's buying that from,
the Nealon,
Okay.
Oh,
Installation, yeah.
so they're going to negotiations for this.
So he doesn't own this at this
No,
point?
no.
So what he has is this business over here?
Correct.
So he's at ZBA applying for
a variance to use that property,
As,
the
industrial.
entire property.
Mhm.
So he's looking, is he looking to change the zoning?
So you gotta get a variance, I guess, yeah.
Well, this is a much bigger scope than I
It's the end of the street. If you drive down there, you can see what it looks like. And there's been a
Well,
drainage,
it just seems so out of keeping with the neighborhood.
it's all industrial down there, it's all.
Yeah, but it's all R10. There isn't supposed to be any industrial
But
down
it's
there.
been industrial forever.
Where's our zoning?
well, that's,
for us?
but that's what I was saying earlier, and
Yeah.
I'm saying I'm not for or against, but we're trying to keep the industrial as close, and we've had problems with this, and they
Right.
try to set a precedence, they want to keep it near the railroad track.
Was that there before zoning,
What's that?
this area in?
Well, that's what I was saying, this used to be G&H precast
Precast.
concrete.
Right.
This right here is a mill shop here. This
Yeah.
right now is
Yeah.
Nealon insulation.
So this has been in existence before this was zoned?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember G&H precast?
Yeah.
They were down there for years.
Does anybody know why it wasn't zoned I-2? I mean, that's what's
No,
being
and I
said.
don't think anybody ever came, that's always been in there, those
Because you
industrial.
look, oh, I think it's I-1 that surrounds it.
Surrounds it,
So-
exactly.
I-2
I mean, I-2, yeah. But I don't know why they didn't,
Yeah, it seems.
or why zoning doesn't go along the tracks and.
Right, well, there are a lot
It's-
of residential
In
properties.
some cases, you could switch it out, because
It's surrounded by it, it wouldn't be spot zoning.
basically the whole
Yeah,
area
the strip
on
on
either side of the railroad is industrial.
Because literally, there's no homes on that first group along the tracks, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
This is all
yeah,
surrounded.
no, just a strip connecting I-2.
But maybe somebody requested it to be changed from industrial to
This is
residential
right,
at
okay,
some point,
which is whatever.
because that's happened in other
I mean,
parts along the
you
railroad
could do a
tracks.
zone map change, and you could just put the end of the street.
Bonnie Lane, you know.
Well, I would like to see the
Well, that
reports
was-
he
that
promised
was
he would
I-
do.
I think that's switched.
That was I-1, and they switched it to
To which-
residential.
Right, that's what I said, this might have, the history of this might
Or
have been
I-2, rather.
similar.
And it looks like it might have been, because look, it could have gone right through.
Yeah,
I mean, it would've made
On the other
sense.
side of the tracks is Clinton Country Club.
Oh, so that's right,
And then the Richards property's over there someplace, where water
It
pollution's
doesn't make
looking out
sense to
here.
spot zone residential in the middle of industrial, it just never does, like, what's that, what's that?
Okay, good. I think we've covered a couple of the things I was gonna talk about. I do know the monitoring is something that's been brought up by the Department of Public Health and Bob Scully. That's coming from them, not DEP. Jim Monopoly, the health director at the CRAD, had written a letter, sent it to me yesterday, responding to some of these things. And basically, as Carol pointed out, the monitoring is actually a physical program where somebody was out with the pumpers when they pump it. And the State Department of Public Health is the one pushing this, not DEP. So, and then now they have a whole new program, which is why we're going down, why I think the DEP is backing down on the areas of environmental concern and more towards the on-site stuff where applicable, because they talk about total maximum daily limits for effluent flow and this and that, and that's why the monitoring has to come in, so you can determine whether or not you need to address those systems and can they be addressed on site, which goes to Carol's discussion about the water monitoring the pump outs. And the other thing you made a comment about, we've been battling them for years, is the 1.6 gallons per square foot per hour, and that's the DEP stipulation, that's all that can be discharged. They don't consider whether it's treated or not, and the discussion has always been, because of the travel time requirement, and, that we should at least get it up to 2
That's
gallons.
gonna eventually be negotiable.
Yeah, I know, and that would
That's not
help,
something-
that would help us with properties to discharge, because that adds a lot more effluent to the property that can be discharged based on that number alone, so. Okay, that's that. Nothing else. School starts next week. I'm sure Carol will be on the phone with the bus committee. Somebody in particular.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we have, I'm going to come to the meeting tonight, municipal building committee meeting. Because top of the agenda is the maintenance facility for the schools. So,
How's that going?
he's not talking to me tonight. So,
Good. That's a good sign.
about that and a few other things going on. And then also, I'd like to let you know, if you haven't heard already, John Provo is retiring. Friday's his last day. We're planning something, probably end of September, early October. Looks like we're gonna have something at the Elks Club. Little thing like we did for the Christmas party, similar type of thing for him up there. We're gonna work with the Board of Ed and do a little joint thing. And then obviously is the task of filling the void right now. From our perspective, my perspective, and Mr. Grovel's perspective, Chuck should be the obvious replacement. Of course, I'm not so sure the superintendent has the same thinking, but that's another thing we got going on with it. So, all right, motion to adjourn, 9 o'clock. Second on it? All in favor? Opposed, none abstentions, motion carries. All right.